You're listening to Asian American History 101, a podcast about Asian American history from generally known historical happenings to the deeper cuts that we don't hear about in school. We're your hosts, Jen and Ted, the daughter and father team.
Welcome to episode 45. And wow, we're on camera.
It's weird.
This is an absolute first for us, and it's for a great reason, too. The Joy Ruckus Club 4 Festival. And if you're one of our regular listeners, then this is what we look like.
And if you're new to us, this is still what we look like. But maybe we should say a little about our podcast.
Yeah, and so first of all, I'm not going to be facing you very much because my microphone's here.
Yep.
And it's tough for me to actually stay in line with the microphone and be on the camera. And, we're just not that set up for video as much as we'd like.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, our podcast began less than a year ago, technically.
Yep.
We started in November about.
Yeah.
And we're now up to episode 45. We produce a weekly show, and it's all about Asian American history, just like you said at the opening.
Yeah. And, I mean, we also talk about some random fun stuff, things we love, like food, music,
and food.
Yeah.
Actually, food and music are probably two of the things that we've repeated the most
on
our show. Or at least we've planned the most of. Yeah. And what's been fascinating for us is just how many topics are out there. Obviously, we knew that Asian American history isn't covered very much by our schools, but even someone like me or you who read about Asian American history and things that are going on, we're always learning.
Oh, yeah. There are so many things I feel like we didn't actually know, or we knew of, but we didn't know the details of. I mean, just going based off our favorite episodes, one that we always talk about is the first Asian Americans. And that's episode 5, by the way, if you are wondering.
Yeah, if you haven't heard it, download it.
Yeah, and I think that was the first episode where we felt like we actually were settled, and it was a good episode. And also super interesting. Like, I had no idea that the first Asian Americans to settle in the Americas were Filipinos.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's insane the more you know, because, I mean, in history, all we really learn about is the Chinese coming to America.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second half of that with the first Asian American entertainers, Chang and Eng Bunker.
Yeah.
Just
so
loved learning about them and their lives. I mean, little sad that they were Confederates, and were they supported the Confederacy, and lived in North Carolina.
Yep.
Nothing against North Carolina at all, but the fact that they supported the Confederacy and slavery was just a little disappointing. But it was just fascinating to learn about them. Yeah. One of my favorite episodes was episodes 26 and then 27.
Yeah.
We talked about refugees, so check it out. We talked about refugees, what is a refugee, and the different waves of it. But then episode 27 was special for what reason?
Because we got to interview my mom, who was a Vietnamese refugee. So, I mean, it was I've heard her story a few times, and I think only one time in a more complete sort of setting. But this was one of the first times I think I really got to sit down and hear almost all the facets of her story and really dig into a lot of the details, especially her experiences coming into America and what it was like for her in America the first few years. And I knew that it was difficult. I mean, she went to small town Cloquet, Minnesota, and going from a tropical Vietnam to a cold Minnesota town is definitely.
Yeah, I've been to Cloquet, actually. A friend of mine who I worked with, he and I drove through. He made sure that I saw there is a gas station there that is designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, I believe. And it's a beautiful gas station. But that was one of the highlights of driving through Cloquet. It was very cold at the time. So shout out to my friend out there, Jason. So Yeah, what else? What other episodes?
I mean, our ska episodes. I know that I think that was one of the episodes that I feel like people aren't as interested in because it's so unique.
Yeah.
It's just.
But we love ska.
But we love ska. I mean, I grew up with ska. I remember going to ska shows at downtown Disney when I was like
Suburban Legends.
Suburban Legends. Who has an Asian American frontman now?
They
Vince
do.
Walker.
Vince Walker. Shout out to Vince Walker.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very, very kind person. He also has not just Suburban Legends, but he, with one of the other Suburban Legends members, Aaron Barrett, they have they used to have a children's song kind of duo or band as well, and they had some very fun songs.
It's funny, the ska children's song adjacent kind of.
Yeah.
There's quite a few ska bands that have done children's music.
Yeah, we learned that also with our interview of Mike Park.
Yeah.
That was part of the interview, but then we released the entire interview in its whole. Mike Park, founder of Asian Man Records, founding member of Skank and Pickle, the Bruce Lee Band, the Chinkies, on and on and on. There are so many different groups that he's part of. Just an amazing musician and person. And yeah, he has a children's album. And his latest song I thought was awesome. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, which is the title of the song. So shout out to Mike Park and all his work as well.
Yeah. And what was that one other ska band?
Oh, that did a children's song?
Yeah, or they did Yo Gabba Gabba?
Oh, yeah. Yo Gabba Gabba. The Aquabats.
Yes.
Yeah, the Aquabats. No Asian Americans in that
band.
But, you know, one fun fact about them, Travis Barker was their drummer for quite a while, but during one of their tours, they were playing with Blink 182, and Blink's drummer wasn't there, so they asked Travis to fill in. And he decided that he not only liked the music that Blink 182 was doing, but he didn't like the outfits that the Aquabats were wearing. So, you know, which were these wetsuits. And so he decided that he'd rather do Blink 182. So, but Yo Gabba Gabba. And I mean, there's some fun stories about that. But basically, one of the members of the Aquabats decided to create Yo Gabba Gabba so that he could do something fun, but continue funding their ska, punk, music. They do all sorts of music too, surf rock. You know, maybe they'll add in an Asian American member someday, and we'll be able to feature them more so.
Yeah.
What if you had to choose one more episode? What would you choose to recommend?
Definitely episode 37, which was our interview with Professor Wake on American survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't heard that episode, or if you haven't heard of that book, I mean, it is an amazing book.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it a lot before, how we felt about the A-bombs being dropped, and you know, American history classes really only talk about how it was necessary.
Yeah, inevitable.
Like it was
Shorten
inevitable.
Shorten
the war. And when you read and see the destruction that occurred, I mean, it really did not feel necessary, especially because it was just women and children and...
Yeah. I mean, you're basically attacking civilians is what you're doing. But the thing about her book that really laid it open was the fact that there were so many Asian Americans who were in Japan at the time. And when you talk about that, the American survivors, we knew nothing about that.
No.
We knew nothing about that history. But the fact is, there were many Japanese Americans and Korean Americans who were there, either living there or maybe studying at school, or maybe they'd renounced their American citizenship, which was a thing because, you know, why be in internment camps? Why be incarcerated?
Right.
And instead maybe go to Japan. Even if you weren't a citizen there, you could go back as a second generation in the U.S., a Nisei. So it was a fascinating book. We learned quite a bit. Yeah. That was a great episode.
It was a really great episode, and I mean, I hope we can get more people to read that book.
Yeah.
It's such a good book. It's such a good book.
Yeah. So fast forward to right now. It's been a wild year, as we mentioned. And you may remember we were featured in the Apple Podcast directory during Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And now we get to be part of this, the Joy Ruckus Club 4 Festival. The Joy Ruckus Club is the largest Asian music festival in the world. It's also humanitarian-oriented, which we love, of course. And this virtual concert series was founded by Asian Americans to celebrate music across Asia and in the Asian American communities. This is a 10-day festival, and we're just one small part of the 250 performers or so. And if you're into K-pop, then there are 2 K-pop Superfests scheduled.
Yeah, I mean, so it's an honor to be broadcasting for the Joy Ruckus Club Festival, and we decided we should plan out something really special focused on music.
Yeah, we love music. I mean, again, next to food, we probably talk about music the most. And you know what's fascinating, though? There aren't a lot of Asian American-led bands and artists that are in the mainstream. Lots of independent ones that we'll be talking about, but it's really rare to see bands that have a front person as the lead singer or a significant contributor known for the band. I mean, what are some of the few that we know of?
I mean, there's Young the Giant, Linkin Park,
Van Halen, of course, which, by the way, I didn't even know that Eddie Van Halen was part Indonesian until he passed away. And I read the obituary. Like, it's not something that he necessarily talked about was the thing.
I mean, a band that's really coming up, Japanese Breakfast.
Yeah, absolutely. And Silk Sonic, I don't know if we consider them a band or they're just a duo or just 2 famous individual artists, but that highlights the fact that there are a lot more individual artists who are Asian and Asian American making waves.
I mean, you're much more likely to see solo artists. There's Mitski, Hayley Kiyoko, Olivia Rodrigo, and someone we love, her.
Yeah, and so many others, of course. Yeah.
And, since Joy Ruckus Club is a music festival, we thought it would be a great time to interview Tara Han, who is an Asian American musician and wonderful person. And we really admire her work as the lead singer with the ska band Half Past Two. And she's also making a difference in spinal muscular atrophy awareness. So it looks like we're ready for the interview.
All right, great. Here comes Tara.
So, thanks for being part of this special episode for the Joy Ruckus Club 4 Music Festival.
Yeah, of course. This is so cool. Thank you for having me on.
I wanted to start with when we first saw you, actually. We first saw you at the Ska Luau concert, the last one that was there. So maybe in 2018 or 19?
It was something like 2018, for sure.
And we were so excited because we loved Half Past Two's energy, the fun that you had. And I mean, to be really honest, we're always just excited whenever we see any Asian American performing on stage, especially when it's ska.
Yeah. Yep.
You sound just like my mom. She says like the same thing. She gets like all excited too. So it's so funny.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about yourself personally, like upbringing, interest in music, and what got you into ska.
I grew up in Los Alamitos, like Orange County, California, and I don't know, like during the time I was like in middle school, it was like the peak of ska craziness. It was like 96, 97, 98, like so I don't know, that it was just kind of all around. And I had an aunt that was only a few years older than me, and she got me really interested in ska music, taking me to shows, and it was just a really fun thing because I was kind of like a sheltered kid. And then it was just kind of a thing where my parents trusted it was my aunt. They trusted my aunt. So it was an interesting experience. But in general, I was always around music. I always, when I was younger, aspired to be a singer. So my parents like put me in voice lessons and stuff, all that. And of course, I'm like a rock pop singer, but yeah, I kept it in my life. I was in choir. I sang at church growing up, and once like school was over and I wasn't doing that all the time, that's sort of when like the idea popped into my head, like I need to get into a band again. Like I need to be doing this. So
right.
and
Yeah. Growing up, I had a friend who was Filipino, and it felt like every single birthday party or gathering was a lot of karaoke and basketball, like those, and food. Like those are the three things at every single.
Those
party.
are the three. Yeah, those are the three things you need. Like, well, four is just people, just like so many people, like a big, huge thing. And yeah, definitely food, lots of egg rolls and all of that good stuff. Yeah. And so much karaoke, of course. Like, you know, most of us have like our own little one in our room, you know, like your own little karaoke microphone. So bad.
That's great. So Half Past Two's been around since 2006. How did you form the band? What's your writing process like? Give us a little insight into all of that.
We sort of formed the band in high school, and I wasn't in the band in high school yet. It was actually, they had a way cooler name in high school. They were called King Otter Pop and the Slush Tones.
Oh my God, that's awesome. It's like the most ska,
it's like a cool ska band name. Like, why did we change it? I don't know. But yeah, so in high school, I totally knew about everybody. And like I said, I sang, and just like the ska trope, like everyone else was in marching band. And, yeah, I like right after high school, like I said, once I stopped singing, everyone was like, oh, did you know that band needs a singer? So I honestly tried out in my friend's like mom's living room with no backtrack. I sang No Doubt. I totally remember everything. It was so embarrassing. And yeah, it was really, you know, here I am still to this day. And they were my friends from school, but it's just strange because they always saw me like in choir, where I was part of this big group, and I always saw them just like on the football field or, you know, playing behind the performing arts center at school. So yeah, it was just organic. And actually the name of our band, Half Past Two, was when we got out of school, so we could go like practice and like it's so like dorky and wholesome, but like it's still our name to this day, like 15 years later. So
but you and the band are not afraid to lean in on that dork or geek cred, whether it's, you know, the love of D&D or, you know, wearing different costumes. So it fits. It really fits.
Well, we're an Orange County ska band, so we kind of like grew up with the silliness, and we didn't realize that everybody else was like so cool until like maybe, you know, what in the beginning when we started playing shows outside of Orange County, you know, especially in LA, people are like, what are these kids doing? Like, we're like, it's funny, it's fun. We just like to have fun, and like, you know, we try and keep that going, like even today. And that's just like our driving, like the thing that drives us is like, you know, just have fun with it, make people laugh. And especially with live music, you have to sort of make it entertaining so that people want to go, you know? So that's all.
Absolutely.
So, we mentioned in our episode on ska that there's a history of diversity and inclusion in ska from the days of the two-tone era, and now it's becoming more about including everyone, so the addition of Shine on the Ska Against Racism album just grows the inclusion tent even more. What was the process like for being included on that compilation, and describe how you and the band felt?
Oh my gosh. Well, we had been talking with, so the compilation was put together by 3 different like entities. It was Ska Punk Daily, which is like just sort of an online like Instagram like entity. And then Bad Time Records, it's like a big record label in ska right now, and Asian Man Records. And I mean, if you know about ska music and like you don't know about Asian Man Records, I don't know, I'm sorry. But anyway, so when Ska Punk Daily actually approached us because they just like us, and we had been working for a while on stuff, and they were like, yeah, we're working, trying to put together, you know, Ska Against Racism 2020 with, you know, these 2 other people, and do you think you guys would have anything? And it was kind of like a really tight time frame too, and this is like at the beginning of like COVID and stuff, so it was hard when they told us like, hey, do you have a song that you could put on this? And we didn't have anything sort of like in our back catalog that we could just say like, yeah, here's a song recorded. So we had to figure out how we were going to record at different times, right? And so anyway, but yeah, it was so weird when they told us like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to be on this record that has the little like Asian man like stamp on it.
Yeah.
And a bunch of us, especially like that did mail order and stuff, like in high school and everything, were like, "Are you joking? Like it's super unreal." I remember one time, like we were on this really short tour with this band from Norway that actually happened to be on Asian Man Records, and we played in San Jose at like a nickel arcade, and Mike came to see the band because it's his band, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, like Mike Park's here," and he literally only watched like one of our songs and then like walked outside or something, and it was still a highlight. We're like, Mike Park listened to one song, like. So anyway, like when we got to do Ska Against Racism, it just felt super special, not just to like be a part of this big, you know, of course it feels great to be part of this big fundraiser and to do something good with ska music, which is what the first one and the first tour did. But just to like be included and be like, look at ska is still doing the same thing. We're still ready to stick our neck out for like everybody, you know. Shine just felt like it needed to be on there because we weren't really sure. We actually were going to put a different song on there, and I felt so weird. I put my foot like down maybe, I don't even know, like 3 weeks before the song was due. I was like, something's wrong with this song. We need to use Shine because it has just a better feeling and message. And I think everybody really appreciates that. So it was just an honor. It's still an honor. It's still really bizarre, and just feel great to be part of that.
Yeah. For what it's worth, we felt Shine was the right choice as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right.
So we love the various covers you've done, some as a full band and others just with Max. Among our favorites, just so you know, are the ones you've done with, and I may butcher her name, Talena Chikami.
Oh yeah, Talena Chikami. You said it right.
Okay,
Yeah,
Talena Chikami of Bite Me Bambi. I mean, there was Three Small Words originally by Josie and the Pussycats and Lost Again by the Dancehall Crashers, which is like, I mean, that's a tough song to do. Yeah. You don't shy away from iconic songs, whether it's with Talena or on your own. And we wanted to find out, how do you choose what covers you want to do and how's it arranged? What goes through your mind as you prepare to do a cover of a song that's well known by others?
It's kind of interesting because there's probably like two ways that we go about it. And the first one is like all the acoustic sort of stripped down covers that are just me and Max on YouTube that we used to do for just like content. That's just us trying to like figure stuff out. Sometimes we'll say like, hey, do you know this song? Or what do you think about this song? And so it's just easy when it's two people. There's 9 people in my band. So if it's just 2 of us, we're working it out. You know, and that's why there's so many of those covers on YouTube that never make it to like full band, because they were just something we tried. You know, like I Will by the Beatles, Max and I did together. It was a song I had sung in high school as a like in a group choir thing. And once we were doing our EP, Something Blue, and we needed something a little more like traditional ska, we're like, oh, I got the perfect thing. So that's always been like a really good tool. But then the other way, the way that me and Talena do it is usually it'll be a fun night, like girl time or something, and you know, we'll be like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool to do a cover of Lost Again by Dancehall Crashers? And then we're like, yeah, it would be so cool. And I don't know, we just like sort of like our bandmates make it happen almost for us, because everybody in our band's a really good musician. They're not just like, that's a weird thing about ska music. I feel like there's so many really talented like musicians. They're not just like talent like hobbyists. They're like, they've been playing their instrument since they were, you know, 10 years old, 12 years old or something like that. So I don't know, that's pretty much the process. Sometimes it's usually me, because I love covers, you know, and I always bring some really ridiculous stuff to the table. Obviously not everything gets done, but yeah, the stuff with Selena has, I think, been the best because it's just so much fun to do something with like together. So
yeah, I mean, and with Lost Again, I mean, it's like an all-star cast. It's not, I mean, you and Talina are amazing the way you harmonize, but the fact that, you know, you've got Jer there, and I mean, it's crazy the amount of talent on that one.
I actually, I'm gonna like toot my own horn for a second. I don't know how I pulled that together, but it was like the pandemic and I was really stir crazy and I just had this idea. I was like, we're gonna do it all star style. And honestly, I reached out to Tim from Catbite first. I said, hey, can you like play guitar on this? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. He's like, but you got to have drums first. That's what I'm saying. I didn't know what I was doing. He's like, you need a drum track first. So I hit up Nate, the drummer for Mustard Plug, because we had just finished like a little mini tour with them and like we became friends.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, can you do this? Because I was looking for people that already had everything set up. You guys have to understand, like, not everybody had all of this, like, cameras, all the recording equipment and stuff. And so he was like, yeah, I can do it. No problem. I love that song. And then it just sort of built up there from there, you know? And then Jared joined because our friend Brent was like, you know, oh, you should ask Jared if they want to, like, play bass. I was like,
yeah.
What? And a lot of people have said, we can't believe you wasted bass on Jer. Like Jer should be doing Jer should be doing something way cooler on the song. Like, I can't believe you like wasted them on bass, you know. But it was good. Like you said, it's all star, and it gets a lot of views just because of that. Because people are like, oh look, it's not.
Yeah.
I feel so proud that like it turned out the way that it did. So. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that you pulled it off, that such a huge video was created. I mean, it's amazing.
It's weird when that happens, you know. I mean, we don't have very many like big videos like compared to maybe some of our contemporaries right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that one for sure. You know, I'm always seeing like comments on it like, great cover. It keeps me going, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and it also brightens up everyone's pandemic time.
Yeah.
You know, we're all staying in. There aren't really live shows going on. Not yet. I mean, a little bit. Like, you've got one coming up. But it's not like a huge practice yet. So this is just one way to bring a little spot of, you know, fun to everyone's lives.
I know. I'm trying to put together one right now, actually. Woo! But yeah, it's been fun just because I did the one before. So I was like, all right, what can I do this time? Who can I get this time? So, you know, we'll see. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Right.
So in other interviews, you've talked about the significance of being a female lead singer in a rock and roll band, which is rare. But it's even more rare to see Asian Americans fronting a band. What does that mean to you? And what are some of the challenges in the industry that you may actually decrease chances for Asian Americans in popular music?
It's so funny because when I was growing up, I grew up in like a very affluent, like white neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so everything felt so normal to me. Now that I'm like older and especially when I was in a band, like when I started doing band stuff, I just noticed like so much other things. I was like, oh, I like looking back, you know. Mm-hmm. So when I think about it, there wasn't really very many girls in my high school in bands, period. Mm-hmm. Like there were lots of bands at my high school. Real Big Fish came from my high school. Like there were bands, there were lots of bands, but none of them really had like female, even just lead singers or like females in them. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just something that I only joined a band or sort of out of like a necessity because I didn't really know what else to do. Like I said, I used to sing in like a church choir. I didn't really want to get into that. And I was in college, like almost in college. I was like, well, I guess I could like, you know, join like a college. I don't know. So my sister was the one that said, you should try to join that band. And I don't know, ever since then, I I've always felt like one of the only girls, like you guys are saying, are females.
Yeah.
And lately it's totally changed. There's like female representation everywhere. As an Asian American, though, I see what you guys are saying, because I don't know, I didn't really have a lot of those in ska music around here. I felt like it did have a couple of examples, like Tammy in the Goodwin Club, and like I used to listen to Sonic Boom 6, and just I don't know, it's hard to say. You know, like I said, I feel like I live like I'm half Filipino, like my mom's from the Philippines and my dad is white, so I feel like I lived like this strange double life where like I didn't really notice that it was even like an issue until I've been in a band for almost 15 years, and I rarely ever bump into another female, even less another female, like Asian American, anybody like standing. And honestly, I think part of that is when I was growing up, I was always told like that this kind of music is not the kind of music I should be playing. You know, like if they're gonna put all their time and effort into you playing something, we were sort of like expected to play it in a certain way, you know? So yeah, like I said, I took voice lessons and stuff growing up. My parents really didn't want me doing like this kind of singing, you know? They support me now, but it took them a while. They're like, why are you doing this? You know? So yeah, I think those are sort of like I don't know if anything would decrease our chances anymore. Like onward and upward. Yeah. But you know what though? I'm in the ska scene where, like you guys are saying, it's a little more inclusive and accepting. So like it's hard for me to talk. I did try to do music outside of ska music, and it was very difficult. I felt like I wasn't really what anybody was looking for, like you guys probably would think, you know. So yeah, that can be disheartening, and I think like it's easy to feel like defeated in that way just because of the way like you look. But hey, if I'm a testament to anything, like persist, just like persist, keep going. And if you've got the talent, then like that will shine. Like so.
Yeah, and hopefully as time goes on, people see you or Talina or Tammy or Mike Park, and as Asian Americans, they're inspired by that and say, you know, that could be a viable, you know, opportunity for me or position or, you know.
Yeah, look at the Lindas. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I know.
I was like, you go, girls. Like, this is so cool, you know? I wish I was that cool. Like you guys said, we're kind of like dorks. So I was like, those girls are like so much cooler than us. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm seeing it like more and more all over the place. Not even just in rock music, you know, like a lot of music from all around the world, I feel like is becoming more popular just here in the US, which when I was growing up, it was just like everyone was focused on like US, maybe some like UK like music stuff, but never Japan, never like Korea, never like any of that. So it's exciting. I'm glad that people are more open to like listening to just the stuff that I could never talk to my like regular friends about. I had to go talk to my cousins or something. So
yeah. So August is Spinal Muscular Atrophy Awareness Month. And one of the big reasons we wanted to have you on is to talk about SMA and some of your work in to raise awareness. So for our listeners who may not know what SMA is, please share a quick description of it and why it's a very personal issue for you.
Okay, so SMA is a genetic neuromuscular disease, and basically any muscle outside of your spinal cord is affected. I'm just trying to put this like super plain. I don't want to get into all the crazy science because I could, but it's oh sorry, I totally like forgot what I was gonna say to you guys.
It's okay.
But yeah, like if you have SMA, you can and you probably will lose the ability to like function a lot of your muscles and stuff over time. It just causes a lot of muscle weakness, and it's not just in your legs, your arms. It could be, you know, tongue, heart, lungs, just any muscle like in the body. You know, I didn't know anything about SMA before, I guess why it's personal to me, my daughter in 2016 was born with SMA, and she's 5 now, and she is in she uses a wheelchair, she uses a power chair to sort of get around and stuff. But I think a lot of people always like assume that it's just her legs, but SMA, it's just like a really terrible disease, but there's no cure for it, you know. It's progressive, and that's why it's personal to me, because it's my little girl. But you know, that's why we sort of advocate, and like as a parent, especially when you don't know anything about what they tell you, like, you know, your daughter has spinal muscular atrophy. They told us we were taking it really well in the beginning too. They're like, you're taking this so well. We're like, we don't really understand what you just told us, you know? So every day we're learning something big or small. And my daughter, she's on, you know, different medications, like experimental medications, but everything's been so, I know this sounds weird to say, everything's been so great. Because I think even though the situation seems kind of like dire, she's fine, you know, she's so happy. And she was born like the year the first treatment came out for SMA. And since then there's been 2 more. There's still research going on all the time. So there's no cures, but there's treatment now. So that keeps us sort of hopeful. And we just want her to be able to like exist in this world. And so that's sort of like our, that's the torch we bear. I don't always like to say fight, because I don't think we need to fight all the time. I think like everybody sort of just needs to do the opposite, sort of like come together and find some sort of mutual understanding. So yeah.
So we loved how you had your daughter be a part of the video for Shine. What was that experience like for both of you?
I didn't know what I was gonna do when we did the video for Shine, because 2:30 has like this rule that every single gets a video, just because it just helps with like boring band stuff for each and everything. And that song was it still is super duper personal to me. And the acoustic version, which isn't on Ska Against Racism, like the original one that Neely's in, is so hard for me. I just didn't know what other kind of video I could make, because the song was, that's what it was about. And so when I did ask her, which is so weird. Everyone's like, how do you ask? I'm like, I don't know. I just asked, like, would you like to be in this video? I showed her other videos and just tried to explain it as best as I could. She's actually very bright. It's hard to watch the video. I think anybody that watches it and says like, oh, it made me sad or whatever. And that was really difficult for me. And that's why on Ska Against Racism, we changed it obviously to be more sort of like uplifting and positive, because we got so much feedback from the other one saying that it made people sort of like just sad. And that's not what it's sort of about. Like Shine, I wrote it when I was very, very sad, but I think everyone can relate like that sort of like process of just like trying to get your sadness out, and then in a way being able to like reflect on it. That's what I hope that people get from Shine, because it was hard to it's like I said, it's still hard for me to watch, because that's like our everyday life, and not in a bad way. It's just, I just wanted people sort of to know that people go through all kinds of things, but they still, you know, in the end, she ends up at school, because that's just what we do every day. That's our everyday.
Yeah.
So other than co-starring in videos with you, what are some of the things that you and your daughter like to do?
Oh my gosh. My daughter's like my little best friend. She's going to start kindergarten like this year, and I don't know what I'm going to do because we always spend so much time together. But we used to go to Disneyland a lot. Like that was we were at Disneyland almost every week. I have a son, but he's 3, and so he sort of like missed that window in time. But yeah, so besides Disneyland, we play a lot of video games. She loves computer games and video games. She really likes art. She likes to do art projects and stuff like that. And I don't know, I honestly, like, I'm sure she would like more outdoor things. She loves swimming and stuff like that, but we haven't really been doing as many activities this year. Like, we can't go to Disneyland or, you know, all the cool things we used to do. So besides that, yeah, all the time we've spent together, like inside and everything, like we've really gotten into just, yeah, like we have 2 game systems now. Like, it's so weird. She's 5. Like, she plays on the computer, like with her cousins, you know, like on Discord. They look like little gamers and stuff. So, yeah, that's what she likes to do. And she really loves to collect unicorns. I feel like we're always looking for unicorn things online. So that's fun.
That's great.
So, what are some of the things that our listeners can do to help support SMA awareness and research?
Well, obviously a big thing is fundraising. So, you know, if you can, I know it's like hard for everybody, but donating to organizations like Cure SMA, or there's also Laughing at My Nightmare, which is run by Shane Burkaw. He's like our SMA celebrity, and his wife Hannah. And you know, Google it, learn something about it. That's like the one thing I wish more people would do when I tell them about it. Obviously, like just looking at a person, you can't know their disability, but you know, just sort of like learn about it. It's hard for me to explain it all the time without feeling like I'm going completely crazy. And also, I don't like explaining it in front of my kid all the time because she's 5. She knows what's going. She can hear me. You know, it's 2 different things, like having to explain what it is and everything. So, yeah, I would just say learn about it. One other thing I found really helpful was to like just find people online, like on Instagram or something, that have SMA, and just learn a little bit about their lives, like follow them, learn what they go through. Because it's not just issues with SMA. A lot of things I've come to realize just since my daughter's diagnosis and every day she's alive, there are so many things that make this world ableist, which just means like favoring able-bodied, you know, people. And it stinks, you guys. Like, it's really rough. Like, anything from like just not being able to get off the curb somewhere, like with her power chair or something, that's so frustrating, to just like access to anything having to do with like her medical needs. Healthcare is like really rough, just anything. And also just in general, even without just empathize with other people, you know, just try and understand, like, there's other stuff going on. You know, a lot of people are always like, Neely looks fine. She looks great. She is. She's fine. She's great. But she does more stuff than sees more doctors, goes to more therapies. You know, she doesn't get to go to soccer. She doesn't get to go to any of that other stuff. So, you know, just, like I said, empathize. Just try and like put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. You know, SMA is a rare disease, so when anybody takes the time, I get excited. So
yeah, we'll be sure to email you to get a list of places you want us to link to. I have a few, but I just want to make sure that if there are any suggestions you have, we'll make sure to post that as well.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So we just wanted to close with a few more music questions. So how's the new album coming? I think I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it's going to release in October. So just wanted to see how that's going.
Yeah, we're releasing our first album in, you know, like 9 years or something like that this October. And it's on Pay Attention Records, which is a new label that was started by Scott Pump Daily and Jump Up Records, which is like a long time. They Jump Up, Chuck, he does more traditional ska, two-tone, or roots reggae, all that stuff. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting because we've never had any. It feels like somebody believes in us for the first time. So we're just really excited to be able to put out this new record. But it's finished, the art's finished, all the colors and everything fun is picked out. And we're just sort of excited to see that roll. We're filming a music video for the next single from it over these next 2 weeks. I'm super duper excited. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have I can't tell you a cool release date or anything like that. I just can say that it comes out in October and that it's super special to us. It's just it feels like this album, because of the way we had to write it, during these times like COVID and stuff, it was different. It still sounds like the best we've ever sounded. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be something that people can get excited about because we usually do things one at a time or piecemeal. So this will be great.
And DJ Chuck Wren, he was another person we highlighted in our Asian Americans in Ska because he's half as well.
Who?
Chuck
Sorry,
Wren. Chuck at Jump Up.
Oh, yeah, Chuck. Yes. Yeah. I kept cutting out right when you would say his name. Yeah, no, Chuck. Yeah. No, Chuck's great. I love working with Chuck. He's been he's just been cool. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he has so many cool ska stories. So.
Awesome.
So, what's on your short list for future covers to do? If I haven't abandoned and could pick, obviously there's 8 other people in the band I have to go through. I would love to do a Vampire Weekend song because they already have so many songs that are kind of ska sounding. Yeah, sure.
Ska adjacent, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. Or a Phoenix song. Or and hear me out here. I would really like to do this. I feel like this is blasphemous. I feel like I would really like to do a No Doubt song, but not a Tragic Kingdom song. Maybe something from Return to Saturn, which I love Return to Saturn. Maybe even something from Rocksteady. That's kind of a little crazy, but maybe I could turn it ska. You never know.
Yeah.
It could be cool.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. Every time I bring up doing a No Doubt song, everyone I feel like they roll their eyes to me. They're like, yeah, that is the female Orange County ska band. We can't cover that. Why not? It would be fun.
Yeah.
I think you do a great job on it.
Yeah, it would be cool. Maybe you'll see it in not too distant future. Okay. This will be the seed. I'll be like, did you guys listen to that interview? See, we really did.
You know what?
They said it would be a good idea.
We can do it even better. Every few episodes, we can mention it.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I heard another rumor that they're gonna be recording something by No Doubt.
No Doubt.
Total ska cover of it.
You're onto something, Ted.
Yeah.
You are.
Anything else you'd like to share with us to inspire our listeners, or just what's on the top of your mind that you want to talk about?
I think, I don't know, nothing to inspire. Just lately these days, obviously, all I can think about is just, like I said, sort of empathizing, thinking about your fellow man and woman, child, everybody, just sort of try and I don't know. That's what Shine was about. Just doing your best, even if it's not for you, just for, I think that it's so easy right now to just be what is best for me, and just guard yourself. But I think we're sort of getting to a point, or I hope, where even if things don't go back to quote unquote normal, we're going to start interacting with each other in a new way, besides just on screens.
Yeah.
And so just get out there and do your best to be social in a safe way, because we need each other, period. I don't know.
So thanks again for being part of this very special episode of the Asian American History 101 podcast. And you're welcome back on any time if you have something you want to talk about or promote.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything.
Oh, okay, for sure. I'm Jen, Ted, Here I come. The album's coming out. I'm coming down. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So glad Tara was able to make it over
Me
to the
too.
show, take time to talk with us and share.
Same.
So in our podcast, as you know, we like to follow up our main story with short recurring segments, and this isn't one of our normal recurring segments, but then this really isn't one of our normal shows. So let's talk about Asian and Asian American musicians that we're listening to.
But before we get into that, let's also talk about some fun Asian American music facts.
Sure. One of the first well-known Asian American acts, and quite possibly the first ever Korean crossovers to America, was a trio called the Kim Sisters. You can actually find clips of their act when they were featured on the Ed Sullivan Show sometime in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah, and even before the Kim Sisters, there are records of a swing band called the George Igawa Orchestra in Wyoming, all the way back during World War II. And actually, maybe you can guess from that little tidbit, but it was formed at the Heart Mountain internment camp. And there are actually a fair amount of Japanese jazz bands like the Kathayans, the Japanese Sandmen, and the Shotokians in the 1930s. And they sprung up around the U.S. because of the Nisei generation growing up in American culture. And then when the 1960s came around, there's a jazz pianist and composer, Toshiko Akiyoshi, who was one of the first Asian American musical acts to gain a level of mainstream success.
Yeah. So then even farther back, when Chinese immigrants first started arriving, they brought Cantonese opera to America. Mm-hmm. And some troops got special exceptions during the exclusion era to tour and perform in the U.S. So fun fact, Bruce Lee's father, Lee Ho-chun, was a member of one of these touring troops. While not extremely popular, there was still pretty big demand for Cantonese opera shows. And many non-Chinese patrons attended Cantonese opera performances in a variety of Chinatowns. So Asian Americans have been in the music scene and performing in the U.S. for a long time, which isn't surprising. But many didn't reach high levels of fame in the way white performers did. Nowadays, with the rise in indie labels and bands, there are way more Asian Americans making music. So let's get into some of the Asian American musicians we really like right now.
Yeah, so someone I really want to talk about is Ravina Arora, who's also known by the moniker just Ravina. So Ravina is of Sikh descent, and she was born in Massachusetts and grew up in both Queens, New York, and Stamford, Connecticut. And she's a singer-songwriter that mainly creates R&B, jazz, and soul music, and she's openly bisexual. So I absolutely love her music and her voice, and her 2019 album Lucid was named one of the best albums of 2019 by NPR, and she released a new single in 2021 called Tweety. So when I need some nice calming music, I always put on Ravina.
Nice. In the indie alternative music scene, there are a ton of Asian American artists that are creating awesome music. One of those is Ginger Root, and that's created by Cameron Liu. Ginger Root is an indie soul music project out of our hometown of Huntington Beach, California. Liu takes inspiration from other indie artists and bands like Wolfpack, Toro y Moi, and White Denim. One thing I absolutely love and appreciate is the awesome bass lines that you hear in so many of the songs that Ginger Root does. Consistently has really fun bass lines. And we're currently loving his EP City Slicker, especially the song Loretta. If you like that sort of 80s Tokyo city pop music, City Slicker definitely has a similar sound. It was just released on April 20th, so go check it out.
Continuing on in the indie scene is the indie folk rock and pop band Run River North. And we love to see Asian American women in bands, so it's awesome to see Sally Kang as the keyboardist and one of the vocalists of Run River North. And they are a Korean American three-piece band with members Alex Hwang and Daniel Che both on guitar and vocals. So personally, the song Monsters Calling Home is still one of my favorites by them, but I do love the more poppy indie alt sound in their newest album, Creatures in Your Head. And fun fact, they left their label and became an independent band, and with fan support through Patreon in 2020, they were able to record and release their 2021 album, Creatures in Your Head.
And if you're a fan of lo-fi indie soft pop, then you really need to check out AJ Abdullah from Dallas. He uses an ukulele on top of the electronic lo-fi beats to create a unique sound. In general, lo-fi and guitar are seen kind of hand in hand together, but the sweetness of ukulele really makes for a nice, relaxing sound. I recommend the song "Oh, the Moon."
Mm-hmm. And moving on, I'm loving the band Action Adventure. I mean, they're breaking through the Chicago music scene with the classic pop punk sound, and they're an all POC group, which is pretty rare in the pop punk scene. And I personally love Tuck Everlasting, but their opening track for their album Pulling Focus, Barricades, went viral on TikTok with the opening line, "Would you listen if we looked any different?" So, I mean, they have some really impactful lyrics. I really recommend you listen to them. They're awesome.
And for that punk, power pop, and new wave sound, we're absolutely loving the band, the Linda Lindas. Probably a lot of people have heard of them because they went so viral. Yeah. Their new song, "Oh," is awesome. But they made waves after their music was featured in the Netflix movie Moxie. It's so amazing to see an all-female band of young girls making impactful music. We can't wait to see what they do next.
So let's take a small break from music from Asian American artists. And in a rapid fire round, here are some of my favorite Asian artists. So from Japan, pop rock all-girl band Shishamo. There's also the J-pop artist Vondi and the jazz, R&B, and experimental pop artist Friday Night Plans. I love all of their music. So if you're trying to get into some more international stuff, I recommend you check them out. And also from Taiwan, I'm loving the synth pop jazz influenced sound of Sunset Roller Coaster. And then also back to America, for more soft R&B vibes, Umi has been making waves with her neo-soul R&B sound. She's half black and half Japanese, and she embraces both parts of her identity in her music. I personally love the song Pretty Girl High and her Introspection Reimagined album, where the songs previously released in her Introspection EP are rearranged. I mean, it's a gorgeous album, and I love the soft bass and acoustic guitar in Bet Reimagined.
One last artist that we love is Ruby Ibarra, and I think we've mentioned her before, but she's a Filipino rapper, and her newest song, "A Thousand Cuts," was created and produced by Ramona Diaz for her documentary of the same name. And it's a song of resistance, and we love how Ibarra raps about her immigrant experience in America. Her album, Circa 91, is absolutely incredible. I know we've said this for almost every single artist, but seriously, check her out if you haven't heard her music yet. And fun fact, she works as a scientist in a Bay Area biotech company, and she actually was working on a COVID-19 vaccine as well as quality control for COVID-19 tests. There are so many more amazing Asian American artists in the independent music scene, and we can't cover them all, but these are just some of our favorites. And if you've got a favorite we missed, then let us know on email. Hopefully more of these artists break through and get a lot more recognition, like Japanese Breakfast. So that's our show for today. Thanks again for listening to the Asian American History 101 podcast, part of the budding 1882 Media Network, and first time on video for the Joy Ruckus Club 4.
Yeah. You can add comments to the podcast directories, or you can send thoughts, questions, or suggestions to our email at info@1882media.com. That's info@1882media.com.
And we'll link to as many of these bands as possible, and you'll be able to find that on our website at asianamericanhistory101.libsyn.com. That's asianamericanhistory101.libsyn.com. And you can also follow us on social media via our linktree, linktr.ee/AAhistory101. In our next episode, we will be talking about Larry Itliong.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.